I build leaders. I don't want to be the only leader, right? I don't want to sit at the head of the table. I don't believe in that system. And a lot of that comes from military and sports, right? I cannot be a star athlete if I don't have people block in front of me. I cannot be the star running back if my offensive guard is missing his block. We collectively have to work together. That's been ingrained in me since I was 8 years old. Military, every military person that I've ever spoken to or interviewed, and I speak a lot around the country on big stages, and a lot of it's tied into the military because that's what I come from.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Sharon Land with the Thrive with Sharon podcast. And this is episode 12, and I cannot believe it. This little podcast is now growing into something much bigger and greater, and I'm really excited about this. I'm a holistic psychotherapist, a trauma specialist, and a healer, an entrepreneur, a metaphysician, and I love more than anything else to have incredible conversations with phenomenal people across the globe. And today I have no other than Shawn James. And he is such reading up on him was such a thrill because it was like I was cheering him on in his life as I was reading about all of the different parts of his lifespan. But Shawn, just real quickly as an introduction, is a philanthropist. He is a businessman. He is a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur. He also is a former two-sport college athlete. He is a former professional football player for the Minnesota Vikings. And he, most importantly, what I noticed is unafraid of labels. And he is also unafraid of exploring into all different areas of the unknown to him, and also the unknown maybe to what we might have already had as a structure. And that has helped him to go from being exceptional in one arena to being able to help entire arenas to create a movement that is helping people across the board in so many different areas. And one of the things that was most exciting for me was his anti-bullying campaign. So Shawn, I want to welcome you to the conversation today. Already just in our pre-chat, I'm like, we could just talk forever. I'm so excited that we're connected today. And thank you so much for being here.
Sharon, thank you for having me. I love what you do. Obviously, as much as I complain about social media, I've met some of the greatest people from social media. So I have to kind of make sure that I don't speak too badly of it because it allowed you and I to meet and have a conversation, and hopefully we can empower people from some of the things that might have went left in our lives, that we can make them right.
Yeah, I love how you say that. It's so true. We really sometimes feel when we're in the moment of something happening in our lives that everything is going all wrong, but we don't have to label it that. We can just label it a direction,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I can totally resonate with that myself because there were times where most people who would have experienced some of the things that I've experienced with trauma, especially, they would have made some choices that really could have been very hurtful to themselves and to others. And, you know, it was by the grace of God and source in the universe that really allowed me to be able to see another way and work and dig down a little bit deeper. So, you know, tell me a little bit about what that might be for you. You've got an incredible resume and you've accomplished so many different things, but obviously there is a drive and a passion that fuels that. So what would that be for you?
Well, I think as I've gotten a little bit older, you know, I was always motivated as an athlete, and you know, I always tell people when I reflect on some of the things that I've accomplished, a lot of it is culture and it's upbringing. And I was very fortunate to have two really good parents that afforded me discipline, afforded me love, and afforded me the ability to live out my dreams. So many of us don't have that. So when I think about my entitlements versus the things I didn't have, I'm so blessed to sit here and share these things with you, because I think I'm big on human behavior, and I learn from people. I've never, believe me, I read a lot of books, but I'm someone that likes to actually learn from humans. I want to go out there and experience and talk and share and watch. We are social creatures. We learn behaviors from cultures and from one another. And some of those things could be good and some of those things could be bad. But for the most part, if we can pull the good of all the things that we learn from others, it can really evolve into a wonderful journey. I always say, if you're not a person of faith and you don't understand what faith is, I kind of describe it this way. It's like a GPS. And even if your destination might not be the exact place, somehow faith will take you to a better place if you allow it to. And that's based off the thoughts and the beliefs of what we think about. So it's extremely important. I had a tough morning, right? I woke up and I didn't feel well, and I got inside my head and I didn't want to go to the gym, and I went. But a lot of that's based around faith. It's based around the things that you put inside your head. And I grew up with a father who was a Vietnam vet, very military, very militant, and I hated it growing up because it was tough love, right?
Yeah.
And now that I reflect, my dad was the most loving person in the world. It was the things that he was teaching me. And I remember around 14 years old, I used to get spankings. I'm old enough that I got spankings. And I remember he asked me to take the trash out, and I'm starting to get bigger and shoulders starting to get broad. My dad was a big, strong man. And I mumbled something under my breath, and he goes, "What'd you say?" And I kept walking, right? So we had a backyard, and I snatched the trash. That's mistake number two. Mumbled was the first mistake. Snatched the trash was number two. And all I remember was literally falling on my face. And I jumped up, and he goes, "The reason that I'm so hard on you is that if you can handle me, there will be nothing in the world that you can't handle. So understand that the things that I'm doing for you is based around love." And it was hard to be 14 and understand that.
Yeah.
Bernard James, thank you. You've made me the man that I am today. So it's about looking back and reflecting on the lessons that people cared enough about you to put energy into you and discipline you. We're missing that in our society. We need to really focus and understand what discipline is. It's discipline it's tough. It's doing the things that no one can see, and the benefits come later. Being on this call, right? It's discipline. It was 2:30. I needed to show up at 2:25, right? Those are all things that you can teach your children early in life about showing up and participating. And just by participating, you're going to learn something. And that's kind of the infrastructure that I grew up with as an athlete, as a student athlete, as an academic, as someone that looks at education as an opportunity and not an obligation. It's something that I choose to do and I get to do.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love that. And there's so many things that I could pull out of what you just said. But one of the things that just keeps repeating in my mind is consistency is the enemy of failure. Being great doesn't mean that you're leagues above all of your peers. Sometimes all it means is that you're willing to show up every single day.
Yes.
You're willing to show up every single day to the mat.
Yeah, that's it. Just showing up. Right? Like if we show up, and we lead with love and kindness and the energy that we have. I have a comment. I want to share this because it's a soundbite that I never really get out. Kindness is the strength. It's not weakness. And our thoughts manifest in the physical outward behavior that we exist. And kindness will ultimately always be the strength of our society. So when things were really left for me, and I'll tell you this, I am someone that I've made $1 million and I've filed for bankruptcy. When things were really bad for me through life, And a lot of this happened late in life. I had a lot of success through my 20s and 30s. I was married and I went through a bad separation and lost a lot of money. I felt sorry for myself for about 2 months. And then I said, you know what? I have to figure out a way to find myself. And what I started doing was giving to people. I started making other people money, and I started making other people money, and I started giving all the things that I had. It's like me and you sharing right now. I started to share the things that I had, and slowly but surely, I was making other people money. And you know what happened? I started making money. So when you process faith and when you process the mindset of what you put in your head, it can take you away from the bad things that you process on a daily basis. And it's really about just holding on to those belief systems of what you just got through saying. Show up. Just show up. That's all you got to do. Just show up. Literally, just show up. And that's part of discipline, is showing up. I didn't want to show up to the gym today, but I also have a little bit of vanity inside of me for myself. I want my shirts to fit right. Yeah. And when that belly starts hanging over, I can't blame it on age, right? Because I know guys that are out there getting it, and it's important to me. I don't do it for other people. You got to do it for yourself.
Right.
Right. I want to make sure that that's clear. And I know I'm kind of going on a rant, but we have to do things for ourselves.
Yes.
Right? Self-awareness is everything. Right. And I assess people, even when I hire people, or I have an intern come in, I simply say this. Let me show you. I have a list. I'm going to show you the one that I really say that's really important. This is the first one that I say. Are you able to articulate and be as detailed on the negative as you are the positive of yourself? And that always stops people. Because you got to think, when someone's coming in for an interview, they're selling themselves. They're selling the school they went to. They're selling their skill set. And I go, great, I already read that. It was on your resume. And then I make them think. And the ones that have something to say are usually the ones I hire. When you can talk about the things that you know that you're not good at, when you have that self-awareness of, you know what, I'm not good with groups. I need to work on it. I'm not good by myself. I need to work on it, right? And that's where you're going to basically look into yourself to become better, because you have that self-awareness of who you are. So many people don't know who they are. I mean, it took me to get 40. I was still figuring it out at 40, and I had done a lot in my life. So anyone out there that's going to watch us, don't get frustrated, because you are evolving, right?
Yeah.
I mean, where's my phone at? I mean, think about this. This thing came out 12 years ago. It's an iPhone. Think about how it's changed our lives. Evolution is part of the process. So we grow as people, right? Why do you think people get divorced, right? If they're not working with each other on the process of evolving, they go this way, right? So why do companies go left? Because they're not working as a company. Companies are people. Company comes from the word companion. We got to be companions to each other. And as soon as you feel that you're not doing that, we're not evolving. It took me to get to 40 years old to kind of say, man, I'm this guy. This is who I am. And so many times we want to be something that we're not. We can be inspired to be that, but we need to work on ourselves and take our time and our pace to get there.
Right. So, one of the things that I think is so important in this vein is that, no one is going to care as much about you as you do about yourself. Number one, right? So we must put the investment of all aspects within ourselves. But the other thing is that, kindness. I love the fact that, you really spoke about kindness, because there's a big difference between being kind and being nice, right?
Yes.
So what you were talking about before with your father, he was walking you through a process.
Yes.
Right? He wasn't taking his emotions out on you because he didn't know how to manage them himself. he was setting limits and boundaries based upon standards that he had, and the fact that he was looking at things from his own lens of the world, and he was doing his best to help to prepare you for both sides, right? Not just the rainbows, the unicorns, the butterflies, which are great when we have them, but for you being holistically well. But the thing is that we, in most cultures, are groomed to be nice.
Yeah.
And nice isn't kind.
No.
Nice is fake. Nice is hiding behind a mask. Nice is selling yourself short. Nice is not caring about yourself. Nice is not caring about someone else. So I love the differentiation between nice and kind, because we want to raise kind people. We want to raise kind companies, cultures within the company. And that's all part of that conscious leadership, right? So I love the fact that you are deep into the trenches of conscious leadership and you're acting on it.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, I've always thought that kindness was the ultimate strength of our society. And when we don't practice those things, it is a skill set.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if it's a skill set, that means that it can be learned, right? Yes. I do not, and I really want to make this point. I do not allow people to say, well, that's just how Matt is. He's just that kind of guy. Well, change it. That's not good, Matt. You're not a good guy, right? I never understood. Well, that's just how Rebecca is. She's just, she's just kind of, and I'm like, no. That she has bad behavior, right? Mm-hmm. And we've everyone that watches this is going to understand this. How many times have you called to change your flight and you got one person, same company, horrible experience, and somehow you got disconnected and you called back and you had this kind, thoughtful person that says, I'm here to solve your problem to the best of my ability. That's what my job is. And everything changes. Your anxiety comes down. You're like, oh my God. And then you almost go, oh my God, like this person, you want to tell someone, this person's so nice. It's the same company, two different people, two different behaviors. One could be nice and nasty. One can be kind and thoughtful. Different. You just explained it. It is different because you understand how to speak to people. And more importantly, you understand how to listen.
Yeah.
Right? And when you listen to people, you're listening to what they need. We don't do that in business. We don't do that in relationships. Like we don't do that. It's not even thoughtful. I'm like, tell me what's wrong. And my job is to figure out how I can solve the problem. And if I don't have the tools to solve it, we need to sit down and figure out what we need to do to solve the problem together, right? Those conversations aren't happening. People are reacting versus responding, and they're different.
Yes. Oh, wow. Okay. So let's go there. I want to rip this apart a little bit because there are so many different branches to break apart with this. Just taking company culture as a topic for a second, we started to introduce the idea of talking about survival to thriving, right? And so company culture is a great example of how we have been in this survival mode for so long. And part of what happens when we're in survival mode, from the bioscientific standpoint, is that even though a company is in this state, that means that every single living human being that is working within that company culture, as well as the people who they know, right? Because there's that vicarious aspect that happens. So, parents that the people might be living with, or spouses or siblings or friends or roommates or whatever it is, right? And it's all trickling down and it's infiltrating into the entire society and the community, right? So when we're in survival mode, there's chemicals that are coursing through our body. And then there's also this aspect of not really having access to full logic and reasoning and being able to make good, healthy, sustainable, long-term decisions, right? So when you can look at things from the position of, listen, the first thing is we need to create a safe space for us all to exist, right? And then second of all, let's look at things as we've got this problem that we need to solve, as opposed to I've got to like you being the boss, right? And realizing I can't fix this problem. Some people would be like, oh my gosh, I can't let anybody know that I can't fix this
Exactly.
problem.
Well, vulnerability is the new currency. So
Yes.
I believe that, one of the things that I do, even amongst interns, as the boss, I build leaders. I don't want to be the only leader, right? I don't want to sit at the head of the table. I don't believe in that system. And a lot of that comes from military and sports, right? I cannot be a star athlete if I don't have people block in front of me. I cannot be the star running back if my offensive guard is missing this block. We collectively have to work together. That's been ingrained in me since I was 8 years old. Military, every military person that I've ever spoken to or interviewed, and I speak a lot around the country on big stages, and a lot of it's tied into the military because that's what I come from. Now, I personally wasn't in the military, but I have many family members, including my father, who was a Vietnam vet. I asked them this: what made you run into the line of fire to save someone? And all of them pause, and all of them say this: because they would have did it for me. And if you hear it again, what made you run into the line of fire to go get your friend? Because I know they would have did it for me. It almost makes you want to cry that someone that thoughtful literally has been trained to know that someone would run in the line of fire to get them as well. And that's all they say. They don't have any explanation. They just say that they would have did it for me. Now think about if we created cultures in companies, cultures in families, cultures inside of everything that exists of saying that very same thing. They would have did it for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And how is it that we can get into that place? And in my mind, I'm thinking one of the things that happens when we're in those positions and we do those really commendable acts, it's because we see.
Yeah.
People can, when someone is literally in the line of fire, there's nothing that you can't hide. You can't pretend that it's not happening. It's happening, right? And so you're seen, and we can then peel that back into company culture again, which is we need to allow ourselves to be seen. And to your point, vulnerability and transparency is the new currency. So when we allow ourselves to be seen, then we actually have a greater chance of connection and a greater chance of actually creating magic together, because we get to serve in ways where we never would have been able to, because we're too busy hiding our own things. We're too busy hiding who we are, right?
I believe so. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It becomes a workaround. And so it becomes a full-time job to deal with our egos, which is pain aversion. Not necessarily like, I think I'm so great, but really it's that pain aversion, instead of just like, hey, listen, this is where I'm at today. Yeah.
I believe, and I agree with you. I think one of the gifts that I was born with is awareness. It's something that people ask me all the time, like, what would be one of the things that you really promote? And it's awareness and it's self-awareness. But I also think sometimes it can hurt me because, I always say this: what's keeping you safe is keeping you stuck. When we don't have the ability to open up, to have a conversation, things die, right? We're freaking robots. We have to have conversations, right? That's why I go to the same Starbucks. That's why I find myself checking into the same hotels, because they know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like to hear Mr. James, welcome back. How was your day? Right? They become, as we were talking before this filming, we find our people, right? Yeah. And sometimes I'm tired and I don't want to work to find my people. I just want to go where people know my name. Wasn't there a show called Friends or
yeah.
Not Friends. Where they know it was a song everyone knows.
Oh, Cheers. Yes. Yeah.
Right? It's that environment where you go because people know you. And we do it as we get older. We go, even if the restaurant might not be as cool, we go because we know the maitre d' or the manager, and they take care of us. that also doesn't allow you to grow, right? So we have to kind of manage that because we want to be able to get out into the world, back to what we were talking about earlier, to evolve and meet new people and find new things like you and I are doing right now, right? We don't like to, like, I think a lot of people too like to hear themselves talk. I don't like to hear myself talk. I like to inspire people. I like to aspire to be people. And I think what I didn't say earlier was when I decided that I wanted to be a pro athlete, you know what I did? I did everything pro athletes did. I ate like them. I worked like them. I did the things that people didn't see. So when you finally saw me on Saturday afternoon in those tight white pants, I looked the part because I was the part, because I did the work. And a lot of people don't want to do the work, right? We have a society now.
100%.
Everybody's an expert, but they haven't really done any work.
Oh my gosh, you're preaching to the choir on that one. I'm telling you.
And I'm not someone that goes and checks a lot, but you go to LinkedIn, and you're like, this guy hasn't really had a good job, or he hasn't really done the things that he said he was going to do, or he promotes that he's done. And not that anything's wrong with that, but when society starts to accept that, that's when I'm like, no, this is a problem, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay with fake it till you make it. But if you haven't done anything, you're a fraud.
Well, yeah, because, and then that goes back into the whole safe presence, right? So I especially resonate with that because in my life, I went through, I've said jokingly, but it's actually kind of serious. Like I'm like the Forrest Gump of trauma in my life from this lifetime, right? So I have gone from one to another, from early childhood all the way up through adulthood, right? And just because I came out on the other side, I've healed autoimmune illnesses and things that doctors told me that I never would be able to heal. I've healed from strokes and come back from so many different things, right? And plus all other types of abuses, right? Yet I didn't say, well, because I came through on the other side, that means that I'm going to show people how to help or heal other people. I said, oh, you know what? I always have been a healer all of my life. It's always just been part of who I am. I need to learn how to master healing myself first. And then I also need to learn from other masters how they have taught it into a much broader stroke way. And then practicing it and working with multiple people for years and years and years is how you become the master and the expert yourself. It's the hard work. It's the showing up every single day. It's the being wrong. It's the seeing people suffer. Yeah. It's seeing people fail. Greeting the resistance and all of those other things that makes you who you are. And that's that safe, regulated presence. And I'm just so passionate about making sure that we provide that. And so, like you said, there's nothing wrong because we all want people to be on the other side of growth and learning and their own pain, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you're an expert in it.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I think, I always feel that pain is the root of all chaos. And when you start to process the ownership of who you are, I find that a lot of people are presenting themselves to the world in a way that they haven't accomplished the things that they want to be. And that's where it gets kind of messy for me. I'm a big owning your mistakes. And it's showing that you learn and evolve from will almost always get you a second chance. So when I make a mistake, I am the first to say I made a mistake. And I say that because I feel that people are really portraying something that they're not in today's society. And a lot of it's based off, we live on the internet, right? Yeah. We literally can be whoever we want to be behind the screen, right? Right. I might not have legs, right? You don't know right. What's on the other side of what's going on. But I always tell people this: own your mistakes, show that you've learned and that you will evolve from the mistakes. But more importantly, the apology is always going to be the biggest part of the healing process, but you must be sincere. You have to be sincere in your apologies. What can I do? I've made a mistake. I own it. What can I do to make this better? And what can I do to make us better? And it's something that I practice every single day. Sometimes I misspeak, right? I misspoke. Say that you misspoke. People that are real players in the game, the experts out there, they know all of it. So don't think that you're getting over on anybody. You're never going to get over on me, right? I've lived long enough that I know a lot of times I'll set you up to see if you're going to be honest, right? That goes back to that self-awareness, what I told you earlier about tell me something that you're not good at, right? Tell me what people see. Tell me what you think people see in you before they meet you, right? I've been called gay. I've been called, he loves himself. I mean, I can give you a list of things that people have said about me. We have to understand that that's their own insecurity. I've been me for 52 years, right? You've been you for a long time. We are going to be who we are, and you're not going to dim our lights because we're literally trying to light other people's candles. Right. So if you're threatened by that, if you're threatened by someone saying something inspiring, right? I do things for me, especially on social media. I kind of got on a tangent about this on one of my posts. I do things for me first because I look at it and I go, you know what? That makes me feel good. And if you can get something out of it, great. But it's not a narcissist behavior that I'm displaying. It's the world that I love me and I can love other people based off the things that I feel can empower you. I talk about the things that went left in my life a lot. I have the ability to say, hey, I've made $1 million and I filed for bankruptcy and I made another $1 million. That's not throwing it in anyone's face, but I speak about financial literacy. So why would someone want to learn from someone that filed bankruptcy? Because I did it again. I found the skill set to do it again, right?
Yes.
If you do it twice, you're a pro. I've done it twice.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I also just want to highlight the fact that part of the people that you're here to serve, and you've done this so well, and we were talking about this prior to recording, is that your mission is to really help people become educated leaders in their own industry. And you realize that somebody can be exceptional in one thing, but that is time sensitive, right? So to be a professional athlete, to be a performer, it's usually a very short lifespan, right? And there's lots of life on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Right. So working with professional athletes, setting them up how to be literate and how to be prepared and ready to start their own businesses.
Yes.
And, you know, so you sharing about yourself and the fact that you're transparent about what you've moved through yourself in your own life helps other people to see that they can do it too, and that they can learn from you, and that you're good counsel, right? You're not just reading a book and then instructing somebody on what to do and how to do it. You've actually lived and you've studied and you've explored, and you're willing to serve and you're willing to give far beyond what someone is really, in my opinion, what I've read and what I've seen in just the months that we've gotten to know each other through social media, is that you really do go above and beyond because you really prioritize the relationship.
It's everything for me. That word that you just ended with is everything. I've come across so many transactional people in the finance on Wall Street. I work in finance in New York City. And hey, there's times and place for that. But when you're trying to navigate, you don't come from that culture. My dad did not sit on the board of directors at Columbia. I didn't come from an East Coast family that was in the culture of financial statures, and I didn't get an internship at Morgan Stanley. I had to figure it out. And there was no self-book saying how to work on Wall Street, right? How to work, how to be a wealth manager. I didn't come from the culture, but I was good. I was good in math. I understood numbers and I understood people. So what you just got to say, literally on my business card says creating access to building a financial future and creating relationships that lasts forever. It's on my business card. So when we talk about relationships are work, right? But relationships also can shift. You and I could be friends today and not be friends tomorrow, right? And it's okay, because everything is not supposed to work out the way that you plan. But when you build those things, right? I talk about financial health. I talk about mental health. I talk about physical health. Like, all these things are things that we have to work on consistently, as you used it. We have to show up for these things, our relationships. And a lot of those are based around putting the work in, and I think a lot of times someone that I deal with depression, right? I was diagnosed with depression at 35. I'm 52. And I always tell people this: I will die with someone that dealt with depression. It will never go away. I have to manage it. And how I manage it is showing up and doing the things every single day to make sure that I don't go to that dark space, right? I wrote a tweet the other day and it said, think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life completely. Now, what's left of it, live it properly. We get second chances every day and we don't even know. We get stuck because something dramatically happened and trauma all around it. And we don't have the ability to move forward. And I always say, like, you have an opportunity just by waking up. And I know it sounds cliche and it's like, oh, that's so cute. Like, he's so inspiring. No, you got to do the work.
Right. And that's, I want to interject there too, which is, you have the opportunity because you have your breath, right? What you do with your breath really is up to you. And when you're paralyzed, when you're frozen, especially when it comes to mental health, which I'm very passionate about, I think that we do have to be willing to do the work to move through the healing of things at the root cause, so that we really can work to minimize and decrease those markers so that they're dead, so you can, and you do that by exercise, you do that by diet, you do that through connection, you do that through meeting new people and expanding your network and giving and serving and all of the beautiful things that you are a living example of, Shawn. So, but the most important thing is that I don't want people to hear like, well, you woke up, so you should be happy, because I think that doesn't get to what's underneath it. And that's not what you're saying. It's really an opportunity for you to be able to heal the things that other people didn't have the opportunity to be able to heal. Right.
I think just changing the word I get, right? Like, you get to wake up, you get to brush your teeth, you get to wash your face, you get to live, right? There were, I don't want to be too graphic. There were 1 billion sperms that tried to penetrate. And one made it. That's you. You beat out 800 million people. You made it to breathe, right? And I feel that, you have to be able to look in, and when you start to feel insecure about who you are, or you see someone that might be threatening to you, you have to stop yourself. And it's a skill set, right? To be able to say, why do I feel the way that I feel? Are they saying something that I like? Or am I envious of them? Am I jealous of them? Use that as fuel. Don't use it as to sabotage yourself. Use it as fuel to be like, that's what I want. It's out there. There's a big old pie out there, and believe me, God wants to give you a slice of it. But you got to do the work, and I always say, like, when people see bad in others, when they're doing good things, that's about you. You have a choice to either celebrate me or be envious of me. And believe me, you want me on your team, because I'm going to love you. I'm going to make sure that you are going to do the best that you possibly can. And I'm not going to cut any corners. So find your people. We talked about this earlier. Find the people that can lift you up. Find the people that say, hey, I don't have the answer, but maybe Shawn James does, right? Call me, right? And if you have my number, I always say this, man, and I have those people too in my corner. I don't know the answer to this. And I built those relationships out so I do have shortcuts. Shortcuts are people that have already done what you're trying to do, but they've actually done it 1 million times, and they know the shortcut to do it right. Shortcut is really the definition of shortcut is doing the work. You got it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just talking to a client yesterday and they said, looking at you and you seem so happy and your life's so good. And I don't know why it's taken me 50 years and da, da, da. And they said, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not doing it right. And I said, you know what? It's taken me 17 years. 17 years of work and healing and showing up every single day to get to where I am now, intentionally, right? I'm a late bloomer. So intentional healing, right? Of awareness and awareness and awareness. And I said, we've been working together, this client since 2019. And they've made such incredible transformation and their life is just incredible. And I said, you know what you have that I didn't have? Me. I wish that I had a me.
Yeah, I always say that.
Right. And not because I think I'm this great, I'm not deifying myself, but I wish that I had someone who took the time to really master their craft and to really learn how to be safe and healthy and heal trauma, be informed. We didn't have that. We didn't have that early 2000s, 2004, 2005, 2006, even. We didn't have what we have now. And even still now we're in the infancy stages when it comes to the type of work that I do. And you really have cornered the market so in such a beautiful way in what you do, because you are serving and we had talked about earlier, you have so many different branches of the evergreen and you're not afraid that they're all very different. They're all very different.
They're very different. And that's the way I see the world. We've lacked these opportunities to find greatness in the people that we love. I love Muhammad Ali. I find inspiration in humans. So the idea of we don't celebrate ourselves and the people around us, everyone that's in my circle, I celebrate, right? I'm not envious of anyone. Don't get me wrong. I'm jealous of The Rock. I want his money.
He's
I want his followers, right? Like there's certain people that, but I want to comment on what you said. I wish I had me. That is not a narcissist thing to say. No. The thing is that I see young people as sponges, and we have an opportunity between the ages of 8 and 14. That's where my scholarship is at. Between 8 and 14 of giving them this information, regardless of the circumstances that they come from, regardless of the communities they come from, regardless of the cultures that they come from, to show them and give them the skill set that they can have anything that they want if they work for it, right? What I have an issue with is the very things that I set and I craft and I curate my tweets, right? I take pride in it. I don't repost a lot of people's stuff. I don't repost a lot of different inspirational quotes. I create my own. If I could do half the things that I say, I would be even better. So I wanted to piggyback off what you said. When I say I wish I had me, because every kid that I see, and I've sent over 375 kids to sports camps and arts camps and reading camps throughout the country. You can check my resume. I've raised over $5.7 million for organizations over the last 30 years. I wish I had someone to do that for me, but it's okay. I had enough. I had enough to inspire me. And I always say this: we are defined by what we do, not what we say. While our words are how we see ourselves, our actions are how other people see us.
Yes.
So I'm about doing.
Yeah.
I know this. Those weights across the street that I just left, they're steel. They have no feelings. They have no emotions. All their purpose in life is to be lifted. And it's my job to lift them, right? Think about that with your ideals. Think about that with your life. Think about that with your business. It's your job to lift them, right? I want to be the person that does all the heavy weightlifting. I want to be the person that people lean on, because I know that I earned where I'm at, and you can too. But don't think someone's going to do the work for you. And if you do think that someone's doing the work for you, they know they're doing the work for you. You don't want that,
Ooh,
right? You want to be able to say, I
100%.
did the work, right? Don't get me wrong. I believe in shortcuts all the time, but it's still doing the work, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe companies need to train people to the fullest. I think every company should train and create a culture where there's 2 weeks of training on just how to say thank you. How can I,
Mm.
right? One of my pet peeves is going to a bar and a bartender literally not looking at me for almost 30 seconds. Dude,
Mm.
what are you doing? Make eye contact with me. Hey, I see you. I'll be right with you. With a
Right.
smile, I am good. I'll wait another 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Part of that is human behavior, and it's not training people to live to their best ability and do the things at the highest level, right? We've created this mediocre society. And you know what mediocre is? It's a C. Everyone can get a C. Just go to class.
Mm. Mm.
Things that you do extra. Everyone's ordinary. You want to be extraordinary, you got to do extra. Put those two words together, you got extraordinary. People
That's
don't
right.
want to do the extra. Do the
Mhm.
extra. That means live one more rep. That means read
Yeah.
one more page. That means walk one more mile. That means eat a little bit cleaner. Drink one more glass of water.
Yes.
Get 1 more hour of sleep. That's the extra. And I'm
Mhm.
the first to say some days I don't do it, but I try. I have the
Right.
discipline in my infrastructure to do those things. And it's
Mhm.
really about, you know, owning your mistakes,
Mm.
saying that you're sorry, um, be sincere about it, and keep moving forward. I mean, you know how many relationships are broken right now as we talk?
Yes, I do.
For people literally not wanting, they're allowing their ego to get in the way of really just saying, you love this person, figure out a way, even if you guys part ways.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I mean, I was dating a girl years ago, and you know, real leadership is not shaming people, right?
Mm.
And she came from a family that would literally shame if you did something wrong. And I was like,
Mm.
I didn't know that it was a cultural difference because I was younger, right? And I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, she goes, why are you still upset? I'm like, you never apologize. She goes, do you really need that? I go, yes, I do. I need you to be accountable for what you've done,
Mm.
right? And
Mm.
if you're not accountable, I'm not going to be able to move forward with you.
Mm.
You can be
Mhm.
accountable for the things that we do. So
Mhm.
the great leaders are the first to say, I messed up. How do I fix it?
Right.
Every leader that I've ever met is the first to say, I messed up. Let's fix this. But they
Right.
all say, let's fix it.
Right. And also great leaders aren't afraid to fail, which means that we're going to mess up. So we know it's just part of it, right? We cannot grow. We can only be a leader for so long by never allowing ourselves to fail or mess up, because that means we're not growing. And
Yes.
other people who are committing to growth are going to far exceed us quickly.
Yes.
Right. So if we say, I could be really good, 1986, I could have rocked that Madonna hairstyle, right? I was the leader of all that. But then all of a sudden, everybody did the same thing. And then I was no longer the leader because they learned how to be able to achieve that too. Right.
Yeah.
So, how do you be the leader? You allow yourself to continue to morph and grow and create and expand and ebb and flow and fail and fail.
Yeah.
Good leaders fail regularly.
And I love that. I mean, obviously, I can speak on that all day long. I failed so much in my life, but you know what? I got back up and I continued. See, I'm never losing. I'm just behind. I always say that. You know, society is losing. I'm never going to lose. I'm just behind. I'm going to catch up. I will
Yeah.
catch up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I also believe, you know, going back to that leadership aspect, we don't test enough. Let me explain.
Mm.
Works 4 times till I finally felt comfortable enough to take it. I took practice tests and then I took it twice.
Mm-hmm.
When I say we don't test enough, see, I caught footballs in front of 80,000 people.
Mm.
Pressure was on. And you know, the only thing that represented me, you couldn't see my face, I had a helmet on, was the name on the back of my jersey. So when I tell people you don't test enough, move to the next test quickly. If you've studied for something, I don't care what it is. If you're studying to be certified in this, insurance or whatever, financial literacy, whatever you're testing for to get your doctorates, your PhD, your MD, move to the next test quickly. And anything that you want to do, it could be being a pilot. We do not test enough as humans. So therefore, we think the stage is too big when it's time to test. And you know what we do? We choke, and we don't have to. See, when you test a lot, you have the ability to be like, I'm prepared because I test all the time. Right. I literally got in an exchange with someone the other day. They're like, everything's a test for you. And I pause because I was about to say something smart. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Everything's a test. Every day I test myself. Right? I know that I've become a better speaker publicly. I'm on national TV. So every time I see myself on TV, I cringe because I know that I could do it better. And then slowly but surely, I'm my worst critic. And that's okay. Most people don't. Because I always say this, if you're not obsessed with it, you're never going to be great at it. You have to have an obsession in wanting to achieve things that you want. Because if not, just life, right? You're going to get off this interview with me, you got other things to do, right? We're distracted every single day. Found with autistic kids, right? They're laser focused and they're so good at one thing. The ability to block out everything. Imagine if we had a little bit of that in us. And you know, the geniuses. Einstein had it, right? They obsess with everything. I'm sure Elon Musk might have a little bit of that. I'm sure Jobs might have a little bit of that. They obsessed. Yeah. He wasn't satisfied until this thing could talk. And then right after Siri was done, he died, right? It didn't matter to him. He was obsessed with it. And if we could just do that with anything that we do, I don't care what you do for a living, be the very best and then graduate and then go test again. And then graduate and then go test again, right? But the thing is graduating, right? Finish it. Just finish.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that finishing, I think that we've gotten it wrong with regard to finishing in the sense that we've been so pushed to finish something for the sake of the validation or the stamp or, you know, whatever it might be from the external. But really, when we finish something because it's a commitment to ourself and our own personal growth, then it becomes a whole different thing, right? And that to me is why it's important to continue to stay with something. It's fine to be flexible. It's okay to pivot. It's also okay to live your entire adult life saying, I am going to do this and I want to do this and I work hard. And then you finally get there and you're like, you know what? What I've learned about myself and my own growth during this whole time getting to here, I've realized this is not in alignment. And you can pivot.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay because everywhere you go, there you are. Wow. As long as you are yourself, you're true to yourself, you're present, you're successful, right? You're leaving a legacy behind. So you have traversed across so many different platforms, but everywhere you went, there you were. It's clear, it's evident, you know, everywhere that you stepped into, you created some sort of a group or a program, right? Yeah. So I just really briefly before, because I'm mindful of time, but I want to just highlight a few of the really great programs that you've created. The LGBTQ program that you have, is that national?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a national program. The anti-bullying program that you have for kids between 8 and 14.
Yeah. And I have in that same program, I have something called Gateway, which is an acronym that means guidance, access, tolerance, and education that I created to bridge the gap between inner city kids and police officers throughout the country. I'm a very pro-cop person. I'm someone that I'm not going to allow any political stance determine on my love for law enforcement. I feel that the only way that we're going to really be able to bridge that gap is having conversations like you and I are having right now. We need to be able to learn from one another before we reach the gap of what's happening. That was it was part of my bullying program. And I did that after Ferguson happened. I was able to get a program put in WashU in St. Louis. So those things are tied to more than just children. I think when people hear the word bullying, they immediately think of kids. No, bullying isn't an adult problem. It's probably the biggest epidemic at the corporate level. I have something called from the playground to the boardroom. A lot of that behavior is mimic behavior that we bring with us.
Yes.
Out of the 165,000 children that don't go to school because of the fear of being bullied, those kids, 50% of them turn into bullies because they were bullies. So we're creating a society that's not really addressing the issue of what is kindness, right? Like it's a behavior. It's not something that we get to fake and be nice. Nice is not kindness.
No.
Yeah, those things are extremely important to me. So, I created many different programs within the bullying aspect of curriculum from K through 12. I have a university program that ties into social injustice. So there's many branches from some of the things I do based off financial literacy, leadership, building, leaders throughout the country. What is leadership? I've attacked many different things that I'm passionate about, but more importantly, I love humans. And, bullying is a social behavior. So that means that it can be unlearned, right? Learn these things, right? And a lot of it's based around people that we're around, including our parents. Kids mimic the words that they hear that their mom and dad say, or the people that raise them. So we have to change the environment. I'm a big culture guy. I don't think that we talk about culture enough. I think culture trumps strategy any time of the week. Culture is something that we build, and we really we don't talk about it enough in the differences of cultures, right? The ideal that 10 European countries could live in Texas. That's how big our country is. So we have different cultures inside of our own country. We know that New York and New Jersey is not Atlanta, right? They're different.
Right.
So the behavior is different. The people are different. California is different than New York City, right? They're all different. And if we know that, we can go in knowing that, to your point, I create safe places for people to flourish. And a lot of that's based off knowing that there's a culture that's not going to shame them for doing something wrong, but lift them up and teach them the things that they need to learn to be better humans within that culture. And that's what's happening. And the companies that do that are succeeding. They're killing, because people aren't going to work fearful that they're going to lose their jobs. 75% of the people that have corporate jobs like right now hate their jobs. It's a fact. You can Google it.
Yeah.
They don't even realize that. They don't like what they do. So the people that are lucky enough to be able to do the things that they love to do, that's a blessing. But you need to find that self-awareness of what makes you tick, and hopefully find a company that allows you to flourish, because they create safe spaces for you to flourish. And a lot of times that doesn't happen, because literally companies are now rolling out so many things that are not helping people feel safe at their jobs, that you're not getting 100% out of that person. People are giving you 30% of what they could probably give you. Imagine creating a culture where people gave you 70, 80, 90, 100%. People, I would love to work in that environment, or work with someone that's given 70, because you know what it's going to do? It's going to push you to work 70, 80, 90%.
Yeah. And I think that we can organically get there, like you said, when we have the foundation of a safe space, right? No one can flourish. No one can thrive in an environment that's hostile.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and that kind of goes into the whole surviving to thriving aspect, which is what you are the living example of creating those safe spaces so that people can really go from that hostile environment, that hostile situation, that maybe not so great programming, for lack of a better word, right? To having the safe space to be able to create the self-awareness, to be able to do the self-assessment, to be surrounded with peers who are also in that same place in some way, and to be able to take some actionable steps to grow and change. And when you feel that and you move through that, you feel a connection and a fellowship to the people that you're working with. And that fellowship is something that sometimes is the first time that anyone has ever experienced that in their entire lives.
Yes.
Right. So I love that you're doing what you're doing. I am cheering you on so much in all aspects of what you stand for, who you are, and all aspects, all of the shades of who you are, which I think are so great. So I especially am grateful that you came on today. I think this conversation was hopefully the first of many, right? Hopefully.
Yes. I'd love to leave the people with this though. Turn your fear into fuel. Really process that, right? Fear is a mind killer. It's something that paralyzes you. And every day I deal with fear, but I've learned how to turn it into my fuel. And you can too. I think people need to leave something better than they found it. And a lot of that's just based off, we walk into things where we're all fearful of one another, and people are literally protecting themselves to even learn the ideal that there's something out there bigger for them. Don't act on it, right? And I would also like to say this: do it. You got the things that you're thinking about. Do it.
Do it.
And I love the fact that we talked about, and I don't even mean the accolades of what society says that we need to be accepted in their room. No, when you finish your laundry, it's one of the greatest achievements of my day. I finished it.
Yeah.
The real finishing is putting it up.
Yeah.
So I take those little things, just the way that I take on my life, my relationships, my friendships, that you show up. And the only way that you're going to finish anything is by showing up. I finished my workout today. I'm about to finish with you, right? Those things mean that you're getting things done and you're moving forward. I learned from you today because you shared some insight that motivated me to go, man, I know that, but I like the way that she said it. It made me look through a different lens. And people don't do that. They hear, they take notes, but you have to process how that can change the way that you look at the world. Everyone can make you look at the world differently. And Sharon, I want to just thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story. And I appreciate you and I wish you nothing but the best.
Oh, thank you so much, Sean. You've just been such a treasure to be here. And I love everything that we had to share in this conversation. And I really look forward to future conversations. Let's say this is just the beginning of this beautiful community that we are so passionate about creating for one another, and also this movement. So I see that we could definitely do some beautiful things together with regard to that. So thank you. Thank you for coming. Just such a blessing. All right. And until the next time, peace and love, everybody. All right. And keep thriving. All right.